Hello class, welcome to lesson 1-2, which is all about the order of operations. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to evaluate numerical expressions by using the order of operations, and you should be able to evaluate algebraic expressions by using the order of operations. Okay, the difference between numerical and algebraic. Algebraic is still going to have variables left in it, okay? So let's talk about what does the word evaluate mean. Evaluate means that we are going to solve an expression. Okay, remember we talked about expressions in yesterday's lesson. Solve an expression to find its value. Okay, and the order of operations, that is the rule that lets you know which operation to perform first, or to complete first, okay? Whatever word you prefer. Now let's jump in and let's look at PEMDAS. I'm sure you guys have looked at this before. Just in case you have forgotten, let's quickly go over it again. So PEMDAS is, the P represents the word parentheses. So if you see any parentheses in your excuse me, in your homework problem, then you want to make sure that you start there first. Once you have completed the parts with parentheses, you move on to exponents. So remember we talked about exponents yesterday. We talked about how they are the number that has been raised up, whether it's a variable or a number in the base. After you've done exponents, multiplication and division are actually on the very same level. And if there's multiplication and division in a problem, you perform these operations going from the left side of your paper, the left side of the problem, to the right side. Okay, so left to right. Multiplication and division are the same level. Okay, and same with our addition and subtraction. If there's both addition and subtraction in a problem, you also do that from left to right. Okay, now let's evaluate a couple of problems first. We have 2 to the 4th power. Okay, so remember yesterday we talked about our exponent tells us how many times we multiply our base by itself. So that means we have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Okay, 2 times 2 gives me 4. 2 times 2 gives me 4. Now 4 times 4, 16. Or maybe you already knew that 2 to the 4th power was 16. That's fine. I just want to write down the steps on how we got there for those of you who have maybe become a little rusty with this. Next, let's look at, we have 4 to the 5th power. That means I take my 4, and I have 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. A common mistake that people make with exponents is they say that this is 4 times 5. Okay, so that means that this should be 20. I have a feeling that's not right. 4 times 4, that gives me 16. 16. And then 4, once I multiply all of those together, 16 times 4, I end up with 1,024. Okay, and our last example of this with the exponents, 7 to the 3rd, again, that is not 7 times 3. Okay, does not equal 7 times 3. That means we have 7 times 7 times 7. 7 times 7 is 49. Times another 7, that gives us 343. Alright, your turn. Try to evaluate what is 4 to the 4th power. Okay, hopefully you took the time to write out 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 and realized you'd have 16 times 16, and 16 times 16 gives us 256. Let's look at our next example. Remember, when I'm typing these problems, sometimes instead of using the division symbol, I use that symbol right there. Okay, that stands for division. Okay, so we have 14 minus 24 divided by 2 to the 3rd plus 10. Okay, so PEMDAS. Do we have any parentheses? I don't see any. Do we have any exponents? RE. Do we have any exponents? I see one right there. So let's change that from being an exponent to just a regular number. What's 2 to the third? So that's 2 times 2 times 2. That's 4 times 2, or we know that that is 8. So let's change that. We now have 14 minus 24 divided by 8. I'm actually going to highlight the part that we changed, so that way you guys know where the change occurred. Now, we're done with our exponents, and we have multiplication and division. Is there any multiplication and division? I see a division bar, and that's the only one I see, so let's solve that one first. So we carry down our 14 minus, and then what's 24 divided by 8? 24 divided by 8 gives us 3, and then we still have plus 10. Next, we have addition and subtraction, and we do that. We have a subtraction, and we have an addition operation. So what we're going to do is we're going to go from left to right. So 14 minus 3 is 11. Then we have 11 plus 10, and our final answer is 21. Okay, let's try the next one. We have negative 10 plus 2 times 6 plus 3. Do we have any parentheses? I don't see any. Exponents? Again, I don't see any, so we're going to start with multiplication and division. I see one multiplication, so I'm going to change that. We have a 2 times 6, so I'm going to say negative 10 plus 2 times 6 gives me 12 plus 3. And then negative 10 plus 12, that is, we're down to just addition and just addition. So we're going to do that left to right. Negative 10 plus 12. 12's the bigger number, and it's positive, so I know my answer is going to be positive. And the distance between 10 and 12 is 2. Or negative 10 plus 12, maybe you just knew that was 2. So we have negative 2 plus 3 now. Or, sorry, positive 2 plus 3. And that is just 5. Okay? I want you to try this one on your own. Remember, write out PEMDAS and start with parentheses, then exponents. Okay, this one has a little bit of everything, it looks like. Okay, hopefully you ended up with letter C, or 30. Hopefully you ended up with 30. If not, be sure to ask questions. Let's look at example 3. We have 3 times 10 minus 3 minus 12, and then 4 times the quantity of 24 minus the quantity of 3 times 4. When I say quantity of, that means I'm talking about parentheses, okay? That is how you verbally represent parentheses. You say the quantity of, and then whatever's in your parentheses. Okay, so we have 3, and then we have our parentheses, and if we're using, if we're using PEMDAS, we start with our parentheses. So what's in our parentheses? We have 10 minus 3, which is 7, minus 12. Okay? Now, there's no more operations within the parentheses, right? It's just a number. So now that there's no more operations to be completed in the parentheses, that means that we are just down to treating this like multiplication. We now have 3 times 7 minus 12, okay? So 3 times 7 minus 12, our next thing that we will do is our multiplication. 3 times 7, that's 21. And we have 21 minus 12, which gives us 9 as an answer. Okay, now we have part B. We have 4 times the quantity of 24 minus the quantity of 3 times 4. When you have parentheses within parentheses, you start with the parentheses that are the innermost parentheses, so that are inside of everything else. So that means we're going to start all the way over with the 3 times 4. So I'm just going to carry this down. And what is 3 times 4? 3 3 times 4 gives me 12. Now I have 24 minus 12, right? Because we have the subtraction symbol right there. 24 minus 12, which is 12. And now I just have 4 times 12. When you have 4 parentheses a number, it means you're multiplying. So 4 times 12 gives me 48. Okay, now I have 2 problems for you to try. Start with this one, see what you end up with. Hopefully for this first one you ended up with 3. If not, be sure to ask questions. Why don't you take a look at this, this example. Be sure to show your work. Notice that I'm showing all of my work, and if you show your work, it really speeds up the process if you have questions, because then I can see what steps you already have followed and maybe where you either went wrong or just had like one little calculation error or something, okay? So it's really important to show your work. Alright, and for this one, you should have ended up with 1. Again, if you have questions, be sure to ask. This is our last example that we are going to look at. We want to evaluate if x equals 6, y equals 3, and z equals 4. Okay, so I'm going to start by just rewriting this problem. When I put in my x equals 6, I'm going to just put that in parentheses, so that way I know that it's only the 6 that's raised to the second power. Then I have minus 2. We have our y is 3 plus, and then z is 4. Okay, so everything in red is what I plugged in from our directions up here. Okay, now PEMDAS. Starting with our parentheses. Inside of our parentheses here, what do we have? We have a 2 times 3 plus 4. Okay, so starting with multiplication, because multiplication is before division, 2 times 3 gives me 6 plus 4. So inside of these parentheses, we have 10. And inside of these parentheses, we have an exponent. What is 6 squared, or 6 to the second power? That's 6 times 6, or 36. And we still have our 3 that we need to carry down. Now we have 3 times 36 minus 10. So our multiplication comes first again. And 3 times 36, that gives us 108 minus 10. I can get rid of the parentheses because we're just subtracting. And now what is 108 minus 10? That gives us 98 as an answer. And our last one, we have 3x minus 4y plus 10 over z. Okay? When I say over, that's usually recognizing the fact that this is a division bar, or it can be written as a fraction. So I'm going to write this. Also, the parentheses here just signify that all of these terms are being divided by z. Okay? So 3 times x, or 3 times 6 in this instance, minus 4 times, we have 3 plus 10, all divided by 4. Okay, because that's where our z was. Now, using our order of operations, I got rid of my parentheses already just by rewriting it this way. Now, do we have any exponents? Nope. What about multiplication, division? Okay, so when you have both multiplication and division and it's a fraction, solve everything on each level first. So we want to solve everything up here first before we divide by 4. So first, and then we'll do the second. So it's 3 times 6. That should give us 18. And then minus, what's 4 times 3? 12 plus 10. divided by that 4 stays. What is 18 minus 12? 18 minus 12, that's 6. 6 plus 10 is 16 divided by 4. And 16 divided by 4 equals 4. So our answer is just 4. All right, this is the last one for you to try. Good luck. I hope it goes well. All right, hopefully you ended up with 28. If you have any questions on how I got that answer, be sure to ask. I'd be more than happy to help. If you have any questions overall, be sure to ask tomorrow in class. I hope you guys have a fantastic day.